Serious. Girls who have been guilted into going out with a nice guy. How did it go? Story 1. Well, I might not be a girl. I was the nice guy in my first relationship. I was meeting a girl which I knew from a friend's girlfriend. Well, at first everything was nice and we weren't having anything serious, just meeting like friends, playing paintball and billiard and so on. However, I really liked her and she did recently break up and I tried to cheer her up always. So then I asked her politely if she would consider trying a relationship, and to my surprise, she said yes. I was the happiest guy on earth this day. So we started dating seriously, going to cinema and doing stuff alone. But I don't know why, but I really got clingy. Like I wanted to see her all the time. I wanted her to come over to me, and it ended up creeping her, which in hindsight, I really understand. And she got continually creeped out until she broke up, and I was devastated. I didn't force her to do anything, but I was, as I said, clingy. After that, I was depressed for over a year and then got my crap together. However, I am sorry that she had to experience me like that, and I also apologized for that, and now we're just normal friends. Not as good as before, but well. But all in all, it ended up good for me since because of that, I ended up with my current girlfriend, and without seeing my failures from the past, I wouldn't be able to hold this relationship. Hey, good on you for realizing your mistakes and actually working on improving yourself. Most nice guys never reached that stage and let their cringy, self-entitled hate fester. Story 2. He was the first guy I ever really dated. We were in high school. We'd been friends for a long time, probably since elementary school, and then we started dating when I was a freshman. He was initially really nice, seemed to respect me, and had an interest in what I was interested in. I was head over heels for him. I never knew that I was worthy enough to be loved, so I was willing to do things that I shouldn't have done in order to keep that feeling of being loved intact. As time went on, things began to go downhill. He started comparing me to other girls in the school, making note of what features that he preferred on them, and telling me that it's too bad that I didn't have them. He started telling me that I needed to dress nicer. I'd always been a jeans and t-shirt kind of gal, but he specified he wouldn't talk to me unless I wore certain things. My makeup had to be done a certain way, and he began pressuring me to dye my hair blonde. I'm a Pacific Islander. I never went full blonde, but I did get dramatic highlights due to the pressure. He said I should lose weight. He told me that I needed to pick him up from school in the morning since I had purchased my own car and had the ability to drive before he did. A lot of my funds from working went to him as he demanded an allowance. He did not have a job. After he found out that I didn't believe in God, he began forcing me to go to church with him on Sundays and to read from the Bible throughout the week. He texted me sometimes, let me know that he was masturbating to adult entertainment of some hot chicks, and that I should take lessons from them. It eventually came to the point that he pressured me into having intercourse with him, convincing me that it was the only way for me to show him that I loved him. Rear intercourse was pretty much the only thing that he did. Despite me giving him oral when he requested it, he never returned the favor after one time as he claimed I tasted awful. He took photographs of us doing it and regularly demanded intercourse after school functions. I found out at one point that he showed pictures of us together to his friends and told them how much of a S I was for him. Even after all of this, he would sometimes buy me gifts, send me messages telling me that he loved me, wrote me notes and handed them to me in class, told me that he was doing me a favor by loving someone like me. It was so confusing. I eventually did break up with him. It took extreme measures to get him to stop stalking me. I think that relationship has still had damaging effects on me to this day. That really sucks. I'm so sorry you went through this. Yeah, first off, that guy is an absolute grade A piece of crap. What an absolutely loathsome human to treat someone else like that. But also, don't hold it against yourself. Even adults make bad choices with romance, and you were in high school and being solely brainwashed by someone who was your friend at first. He's a jerk, and you deserve so much better. Story 3. I was in high school and figured I should give the guy a chance. Maybe I was just being snobby. Anyway, we decided to go to the movies. His older sister came along to chaperone and spent the movie sitting in my lap to make sure we didn't get up to anything funny. After the movie, I said I had to go home. Later that night, he called me, crying to confess he'd snapped a picture of me and whacked off to it. There wasn't a second date. Incidentally, this was when I began to have an inkling that I maybe liked girls. Story 4. We were friends in high school and most of college. It was one of those things where he was a friend of a friend, but we always went to the same parties, hung together in the same group, and so on. The guys in the group would always say things like, "Aw man, you and Kyle would be so great together, you should give him a shot." I'd kind of laugh it off because for the majority of the time, I had a boyfriend. Eventually, me and the boyfriend broke up, and about a week later, Kyle asked me out. I wasn't really ready, but I figured it was a first date and everyone had been pressuring me into giving this guy a chance, so I went. The whole evening was awkward. We just ordered a pizza and watched movies, which was what we did in our friend group anyways, but this guy would not stop staring. I felt like I couldn't even eat because I was under a microscope. The evening ended uneventfully, but then there was the aftermath. We kept texting and seeing each other in the friend group, and about a week later he asked when we can have another date. I told him that maybe I had rushed into things too fast and I just wasn't feeling any connection with him. "I broke up with my girlfriend for you." Yep. Dude found out I was single, dumped his girlfriend of 8 months just so he could ask me out to an awkward pizza date in his bedroom. The timely cherry on top is that they got back together, and apparently I'm tearing their marriage apart because she found a bunch of texts from me from 6 years ago, and he admitted that he kept them because he still likes me. I haven't seen him in 4 years. Edit for timeline, we are friends in high school 10 years ago and college 5 to 6 years ago. While we're in college, he asked me out after dumping his girlfriend. Sometime after that, they get back together and are married last year. Last week, a friend informs me that they are on the verge of divorce because she found texts he had saved, screenshots from our college chats 5 or 6 years ago. Now that's fricked. Some folks really need to take a step back and realize when a crush has turned into an unhealthy infatuation. Like at first, the awkward staring on the date, I can excuse it as the guy just being awkward and nervous finally dating someone he's been crushing on. But dumping a girlfriend like that for a chance and then getting back with her, he's got some problems that might need some therapy. Story 5. Throwaway account for this, as I don't want my story tracing back to me. I met him through online dating, and after a couple of weeks of chatting online, decided to cool things off as he was giving off a creepy, needy vibe that frightened me. He would ask about ex-boyfriends frequently and tell me that he would be good for me, ask intimate questions without any encouragement, and want to know intimate details. I forgot all about him until he sent me a random message months later and apologized for his previous behavior, which he blamed on a tricky breakup. Time passed and he seemed like a new person, so I gave in and met with him. Our first couple of dates seemed fine with just a few odd comments that I should have paid attention to. Then he started questioning where I was and who I was with, but again, I just foolishly ignored this. The first time and last time I stayed at his, we went out for drinks beforehand, and he was judging me for having a couple of beers. When we got back to his place, I wasn't feeling up to anything intimate, so told him firmly no and went to sleep. Later that night, I woke up to him on top of me. I never confronted him about this. I just pretended I hadn't woke up and made an excuse the next day before blocking him from my life. I've never told anyone this before. I just wish I listened to my previous instinct and kept well away. Story 6. The date wasn't too bad, although he kept changing pretty much every single sentence he said so it would fit my interest. Something like, "I like ice cream." "Cool, I like frozen yogurt." "Oh yeah, that's what I meant. Ice cream is nice, but frozen yogurt is amazing." And so on for 4 hours straight. At the end, I had no idea what he was actually like. He also kissed me in the most awkward way possible. I guess he thought it was going to be romantic and spontaneous, but it wasn't. Then he kissed me again and he walked me to the train station. He hugged me so hard I couldn't breathe and started making weird noises, kind of like what some people do during heavy pre-intercourse makeout sessions, except it was a rather quick kiss in a public place. Started texting me before I even got home, and when I didn't answer, got upset. Told him he was nice, but I didn't think we'd work out. Said it's cool, asked if we can stay friends. Silly me, I said yes. We kept talking for about a month, during which he very friendly kept checking in if I had slept with someone else and making sure I know how much of a intercourse god he is. "You know, I once even made my lesbian friends see super hard." This is also the time I met my current boyfriend and was meeting a bunch of new people at uni, so we'd talk less and less each week. Then one day, he asked me out. I said I wasn't sure if he was completely fine with us being just friends, so that wouldn't be appropriate. He went on this massive rant about how he'd actually been seeing someone else in that time, but they broke up shortly before that. How he's so over me and didn't even think I'm that hot anymore and how nothing would happen. I said no, because I was broke and couldn't fully enjoy myself while worrying about not spending too much. We were supposed to go to a Metallica concert. Apparently his best friend had spent 120 pounds on his ticket, but then last minute found something better to do. But he promised he'd take care of everything and we could chill at his place with pizza and some films as friends. I said I could consider the concert, but there's no way I'd stay over. I mentioned texting someone else to see if they would be fine with me sleeping over at theirs afterwards. He jokingly asked if it's someone I'm sleeping with, and I said it's none of his business. Then he told me how much of a bee I was for sleeping with other people and not sleeping with him, said it's so unfair that he knew me so much better, but he felt like other people had more rights to me than him, and that we kissed, and he didn't expect me to be this S. By the way, I did not want to kiss him. It was just so random. I felt him making out with me before I even realized what his intentions were and stopped it rather quickly. Then he called me a few more names, said he is such a nice guy and didn't deserve to be treated like that, and we never spoke again. Fun times. People who don't know what nice guy means should read your story because that guy pretty much checked all the boxes. Yep, there are actual nice guys, and then there are nice guys who act nice but always with ulterior motives, and woe be unto you if you refuse those motives. The nice quickly fades away, and out comes the real person. You know, a douchebag. Story 7. I was a college freshman. First week of school, I was in my dorm hangout area going through the calendar on my phone to add exams to my schedule. I didn't realize that nice guy was looking over my shoulder as I was doing so. He goes, "I see you don't have plans on Saturday. We're going to breakfast." I continually objected and said I just hadn't gotten around to adding anything to it yet. He wouldn't leave me alone about it all week, so eventually I agreed to go on Saturday. I was purposefully on my worst behavior in an attempt to repulse him because clearly my opinion didn't matter otherwise. He ended the date by calling his mom, telling her that he met his future bride, that we were going to give her grandchildren. He handed the phone to me, so I straight up told his mother that I had no interest and was only there because he wouldn't leave me be, and apparently acting like a barnyard animal wasn't enough of a turnoff. Mom laughed and said, "Sounds like my boy." He would sit on the couch outside my dorm to bombard me whenever I tried to go anywhere, followed me to and from classes for 2 months, and tried to befriend my roommate to get closer to me before moving on to a new target. She ended up with a restraining order against him. Thank frick. Sorry you had to start college that way. Guys, if you are pursuing a woman like this, thinking it's romantic like in the movies, it isn't. It's creepy and desperate. I say this not to poke fun at you, but for you to do some self-reflection and better yourself. For every one time crap like this might actually work out, there are 10,000 times where you're just a stalker. Story 8. Moved to another state with my sister, and she made a few guy friends. One of them saw her with me and begged her to set up a date with me. I reluctantly agreed because she kept saying how sweet and nice he was. First date, he kept gushing about how gorgeous I was, and the fact that I was smart made it 100 times better. He was going to make me his queen and take me around the world, but I have to pay for my own meal and his since he paid this time. I told him I was only interested in being friends, and he begged my sister to get me to go out on another date. I declined, and we moved back home, and he came to visit my sister. While he was here, he kept looking at me and telling my sister to just hook him up with me. It was my birthday, and I kinda just rolled my eyes and was like, come on. I'll take you out too with my group of friends. At the bar, he was really into me, and I was getting annoyed because he wouldn't let me relax and have fun. I told him I really only saw him as a friend, and in front of everyone, he yelled at me saying what a horrible person I am for leading him on, nothing but a W, etc. I ended up crying because it was so embarrassing. My guy friends wanted to go talk to him after they heard what happened. My sister ran up to me and told me to go make him happy again. He came down to see me, and this is how I was treating him. I just went home, and the next morning my sister told me how sorry that guy was, and he wanted to come say bye to him at the airport. Needless to say, I didn't. Your sister sounds like a terrible person. Sounds like she valued this guy more than your space and feelings. Please like and subscribe if you made it this far. I hope you'll enjoy the rest of the video and have a wonderful day. Story 9. Wasn't really a date. I was at a hiking trip with my sister and other people from our village when we met a group of guys drinking and having fun. Was on German Father's Day, so it wasn't an unusual sight. For some reason, my sister got into a talk with the guys and somehow got me and her invited for the party at one of the guys' houses later. No big deal, we brought her boyfriend with us and were expecting some good times. My boyfriend was on a biking trip with his dad, so he couldn't come. We arrive and nobody else is there. Guy says they will all arrive later and we are all early, 30 minutes after the time he told us to be there. And we start drinking, having fun, and everything. He clearly has a thing for me, invites me to go on festivals with him. Sister's boyfriend tells me I would be stupid if I say no, and he would totally be going. The others arrive, and at some point the homeowner asks me to go out for a walk. He needs some air. We walk a bit, and suddenly he turns around telling me I am the love of his life, the girl meant for him, most beautiful, smart, etc. he has ever seen. I was shocked and didn't know what to say except, I have a boyfriend, you know. He said he doesn't care. We are clearly soulmates and then just kisses me out of nowhere. Tells me he would break up with his girlfriend for me. He never mentioned her before, and I should do the same. Luckily, my sister blacked out on the toilet and someone shouted at him for help unlocking the door, so we went back up. I took care of my sister, his girlfriend arrived, he pulled me aside and told me he would do it now, right here. I said no, and he told me to take my sister and leave. What I did then. He messaged me on Facebook the next day that I was a W and I led him on and he almost broke up with his future wife for a B like me. Oh man, absolutely would have shown his future wife this little monologue. For whatever reason, this one really hit me. Dude is a psycho. Folks, I need you to say this with me. Infatuation is not love. Love at first sight isn't a thing. Sure, sometimes relationships that started with love at first sight might work out, but they are the exception to the rule. If you do this, you have made a huge mistake. Take a step back and use your brain. It should confirm this. Story 10. All of my friends said a guy from our group of friends was very nice, even though I felt like he was creepy. Went out once, thought I'd give it a chance to be nice. Regretted it immediately. He asked what I thought of being in a relationship with him, and when I said no, I didn't want that because I wasn't very interested and we'd only been friends before this, he said he was disappointed with my answer and expected something more worthy of him. He said that saying no was disrespectful. Big yikes. We met once after that because he surprise visited me a few months later. He asked me to ruffle through my hair because he wanted to feel my scalp, treated me like a dog, and wanted me to sit next to him so he'd be closer to me. He also thought it was a great idea to mention that he sometimes hears voices in his head and has dreamt of killing people. I rushed out of my apartment onto the street. I just wanted him to be gone. I checked my keys 5 times to see whether he took any. I've had to see him a couple times since then, and he's the most creepy, socially inept person I've ever met. He's so aggressive and impulsive, I am truly afraid he will or kill someone someday. And I'm still afraid that person could be me. Now that's a little freaking scary. Story 11. He was genuinely nice, and I thought I was being too picky, and maybe I could see this through if I took the effort of getting to know him. But every time I offered a contradictory point of view on any generic topic of discussion, he would proceed to casually mock my appearance, attire, and my personality in retaliation to my disagreement. That was the last date, obviously. Story 12. After a few years of tepid friendship, something was always a bit off about him, but I thought he was such a nice guy and I was just being a judgy bee, plus he always claimed to be so in love with me. I agreed to a few dates with my friend. On one date, we went out with a whole group of couples to the state park a few away, and during the ride home, I dozed off. I woke up to him, roping me under my clothes, and when I told him off, he twisted it around like I was being ridiculous and imagined his hand under my bra. Like, we are on a date, why was I being so weird, etc., etc., etc. When I told him I had to cancel our 4th date because I'd gotten grounded after accidentally setting the kitchen on fire, he punched me, mostly in the face. Punched me. He spent the rest of high school periodically stalking me/my sisters, ranting and raving to literally everyone about how I just didn't understand and he loves me. He's just so emotional with his true love for me that sometimes he acts without thinking. He's not like those other guys that would make indecent comments about my appearance. Why did I have to be such a Stacy? He's the best friend I ever had until I ruined it all by willfully misunderstanding and refusing to hear him out or give him closure. On and on. What a nice guy. Guess he tried to break into my bedroom window out of love and concern, huh? When someone goes from nice guy to literal assault and stalking, that isn't a what a jerk I'm not seeing him again instance. That is a call the police and press charges instance. And I'm so sorry you had to deal with that. Story 13. Guilted into having a 1-year relationship with one. He was super nice at first, and I was young and naive. He flirted, seemed nice and honest, so I thought, what the heck, why not give it a go? Big mistake. Realized quite quickly that he just wasn't for me. We had very different political views, very different opinions on things. He was very degrading of me, made fun of my weight, made me think I was fat. I was not at all. Always had a healthy BMI, always have been sporty. But obviously, being my younger teenager and vulnerable self, that really crushed my self-esteem. So when I finally decided I had the balls to say, I don't want to be with you anymore, he guilted me into staying with him, saying, you'll never find a guy who will love you like I love you. Or, if you leave me, I'll kill myself. And all the rest of the typical reasons a nice guy will use to guilt you into staying. In the end, I ghosted him. We were supposed to meet up, but I never showed up. I changed my number, deleted social media for a couple of years, and moved out. Never heard from him again, which I am very pleased to say. You'll never find a guy who will love you like I love you. I hope for your sake you never do find another guy that loves you like he did. Girls, if a guy says that he'll kill himself if you leave him, you report that crap. Treat it seriously and get him help, but do not stay with him. That is such an awful threat to use against a person you supposedly love, and frankly, staying with that person will be bad for the both of you. Story 14. It was when the new Star Wars movie came out and he kept messaging me on Facebook. I didn't give him my number, asking to go see it because he knew I was a huge fan. He was a friend of a friend that I hadn't really talked to, and then we were put in the same project group together at university, so we spent a lot of time working on that. But it was strictly academic. I always used to turn down his not-so-subtle advances and try not to engage with him during our time together. Anyway, one day when it was just the two of us working on our project together in the library, he seemed a little off and I made the mistake of asking if he was all right. And he went into this long tale of his grandma being sick in the hospital and how his parents were fighting. Me, being the sensitive soul that I am, felt bad and was trying to cheer him up, like I laughed at his cringy jokes and didn't roll my eyes every time he hit on me. The same night he messaged me on Facebook asking to see The Last Jedi. He had asked multiple times before I said no, adding that it would really cheer him up and he needed to have one good night. I agreed and then had to give him my number, which was a huge mistake because he would text me all the frickin' time in the middle of the night during lectures, really inappropriate stuff too. Like one time at 3 a.m. he messaged me saying he was thinking about me. The day we were meant to go, he texted me saying we should meet up an hour earlier and go eat before the movie, to which I replied, no, this isn't a date, we're going as friends. He didn't seem to mind that much. At the cinema, he insisted on paying for everything, and I didn't want to make a scene, so I agreed. The whole time, he would make little movements like putting his hand in my back pocket or around my waist, and I kept slapping his hand away, and he treated it like a joke. The whole time during the movie, he would rest his hand on my knee, and I had to subtly move away so that his hand graduated to my thigh. At that point, I grabbed his hand and moved it. I could barely focus on the movie or swallow my popcorn because he was so grabby. During the end, he bent his head and kissed my neck, at which point I yelped in shock and decided that I was leaving. I didn't even see if he was following me. He was acting like he hadn't done anything, and I just called the taxi to take us to the uni accommodation. I didn't speak to him once except to tell him to go to hell and that he was disgusting. Got back to my flat, and he has the nerve to ask if he's gonna see me again and tries to kiss me. But I push him off, and he left saying that I had hurt him and tried to act like he was the victim. Anyway, later I found out he had lied about his grandma and just wanted me to feel bad for him. The fact that he used his grandma to guilt trip you, true or not, is absolutely disgusting. If it was true and he wanted to share that information with you, that's one thing, but to use it as leverage to trick you into going out with him is absolutely unacceptable. Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.